We are live and in color. That's right. The champ is here. The champ is here. Intimate discoveries, unveiling connections, the podcast, redefining a dialogue on intimacy and connections in modern relationships. In a world flooded with fleeting interactions and surface level interactions, Intimate Discoveries aims to bridge the gap, fostering deeper connections and understanding. Each episode delves into the heart of intimacy, dismantling myths and unveiling truths about the complex dynamics of relationships. Through engaging discussions with relationship experts, heartfelt real-life stories, and groundbreaking insights, we challenge and expand your perception of closeness and commitment. Whether you're navigating the rocky paths of a struggling relationship, contemplating the complexities of divorce, or seeking to strengthen the bonds of your marriage, Intimate Discoveries offers a compassionate, insightful, and transformative journey into the essence of human connections. I'm your champ. Let's go!
They said I wouldn't make it, but I'm here now.
I'm here, baby.
And I'm here to stay, never go down. Cause I'm a champion.
Man,
A champion.
listen up, ladies and gentlemen. This is
Cause I'm
going
a
to be
champion.
an amazing show. Because I'm a champion.
A champion.
Yes. I'm excited to bring a dynamic speaker, transformational coach, doctor. He'll be on and he's going to explain his whole self, but I'm excited. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. The champ is here. The champ is here. Yes. Yes, you all know how you do when I come on. I love it when you love on me. Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much for that. Again, I'm joined today by DrWhitty, a renowned transformational coach, who has done some great work in relationships. I'm gonna bring you on, and you can tell your story, Doc. How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear you well.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was on or not. Thank you. I'm here.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Doc. Tell us about yourself, other than
Oh,
doctor.
well, like you said, I'm Dr. Whitty. I'm a transformational coach. I deal a lot with a lot of my focus is in leadership development and coaching. I wouldn't necessarily refer to myself as a relationship coach.
Mm,
However, I have worked with people in relationships where I've given them some coaching and some guidance and some mentorship. But outside of that, most of my work involves leadership development and coaching. But all of that as well involves a transformation of the mind if we're going to grow.
beautiful. And so um, in that leadership requires relationship, right?
Right, right.
And transforming individuals' minds to understanding that leadership is influence,
Right,
right? It's your
exactly.
ability to get individuals to move towards a goal or an objective at the time in which you want them to do it.
Right, right. And just to clarify, I guess what I should have said was uh, a more intimate relation. My work doesn't necessarily center around intimate relationship. I guess couple wise. You know what I'm trying to say.
Listen.
Uh,
Doc. I
yeah,
understand what you're saying.
right.
Um,
I just
and
wanted to
and
make sure.
I understand what you're saying. At the same time, it all ties back to it, right? Because if you're not having, you know, if you're not having an effective relationship at your house, you can't come to work and be effective,
All right.
right? Right. So all of it
Exactly.
ties. all of it ties into it. And so just, when we talk about relationship, that's what transformation is. Well, tell us what transformation is. You the doc. Talk to us.
Pressure, pressure. Well,
Yeah.
if I would give a definition to the word transformation, I would say quite simply, it's a changing of your heart and mind in another direction that works out for the best. It helps you to become the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
To basically change directions, to take your current circumstances and do it differently, to work with it differently, or manage it differently, so that you can end up uh, towards the better version of yourself.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. And so if we can take those transformational principles and now help individuals who um, are in relationships, because it's hard for us to experience for our partners to experience the best version of ourselves,
Right,
right?
right.
But we sometimes want the best version of somebody for us,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
So if are you are you married in a relationship? What's up, Doc?
I am currently separated.
Okay, well that's what's up. Okay,
Yeah.
well, oh my gosh. So no, why you laughing?
No, I'm just listening to you. I'm not
Yeah.
laughing.
Okay. No, well, I would say this, that I am I'm hopeful um that you could work things out if that's what you all want to do,
I
right?
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Because when someone wants a divorce, there's nothing you can do about it. Um,
Absolutely.
so I just went through that. I just went through a divorce, and being soft, having a desire um, to I guess to make it favorable for her, is what I did, right? And so
Hmm.
how did I come about making that decision? I came about that decision when um, when I saw this man coming in and out of my house,
Hmm.
right? And she had decided to have a relationship with this guy, and I had to figure out, how did I deserve this? After winning what I believe I was winning for so many years, right? I went from E1 to lieutenant commander in the United States Navy. I'm one of the few. I'm in that 4% of black men
Hmm.
who have a master's degree, right?
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. And so when it came down to it, I understood. I looked and saw that, of those 20 years that we were married, that I was not a reliable partner,
Hmm.
right? And as the guy comes to my house, it was one, it was a traumatic experience for me. But at the same time, it was a transformative experience for me, in the sense that it helped me to see that everything that we fussed about in the house, he wasn't fussing about it.
Hmm.
It was no big deal to him. Everything that was in the house, there was no big deal to him. And when she asked him to fix something, he fixed it the way she wanted it done, right?
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I was so passionate over this stuff. right?
Hmm.
That I wanted it to be done a certain way, and she didn't really care about that. And so the transformation that I went
Excuse me.
was I transformed myself to waiting to they ask me to do something, and focusing on that, and being prepared to provide a safe space for my partner now, right? Any person that I talk to, or who come in contact with me, especially when it comes to females, I often leave them with this question:
Hmm.
is there anything else you want to share, right? And it's like, Frank, that's textbook, right? This sound like it's a therapeutic appointment. I'm like, right? And you know what I tell them?
Hmm.
So what? That it sounds like a therapeutic appointment. What I'm trying to do for you is, I don't know when the next time you're gonna have a safe space. And I want you to know that this moment was provided for you in a non-judgmental environment. And that's what I do. And so if you're open to sharing, what happened?
Well,
So hold on. Before you do that,
go ahead. Go ahead.
before you do that, right? Before you do that, everything that I ask you, you're okay to ask me, because this is a reciprocal relationship. So if I'm asking you to be vulnerable about something, then you can say, Frank, well, what about you? Right?
Yeah.
No, because the thing is that the reason why I have this podcast, because I I don't want I don't want you on this side. I don't want you on this side because you don't know how the kids are going to respond. And you don't. And on this side, most men are going to tell you how much it hurts. They ain't going to tell you that. But this is what I'm going to June, right? And I ain't got a text message, a card, or anything from my children, right? It's been at least 2 years. This is 2024. I retired in the military 2021, and doing the separation, right? They don't call me. They're like committed to her. They've a pledge allegiance to Janelle for what she stand. One nation under God. Right? And they're holding fast to that, right? The problem is, Doc, is that I showed up at all their recitals. I drove them to camp. I drove them to school. I made sure that all the lights and stuff was on. I made sure that they had braces, right? I made sure that but my point is that they're not giving me credit for that, and it hurts. And the pain that I try to process every day is a pain that I don't want you to experience. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm telling you, you can ask me anything, right? And I'll tell you. And there you have it. So what happened?
Well, first, I'm going to say that I would encourage you to keep showing up, and as much as you are able to, and to continue to be present, because I have experienced that and some of those emotions as well. And then another thing is, um, I would encourage you not to really have an expectation of receiving credit, and not to really delve into that. But I just wanted to throw that out there, because when we do that, it almost we almost bring a more negativity to the way we might feel,
Mm.
and then we start to voice it, and then once you voice it, then you start to get more and more thrown back at you. So I would just say, continue to be present, continue to show up, and I say that to say, as I experienced those types of emotions myself, I can say that I do see uh, things changing in terms of my kids reaching out, talking about different things, asking me questions before they make decisions, stuff like that. Things like that make me understand and help me know that what I might be thinking or feeling may not necessarily be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to allow other people to experience their emotions, go through their process, because we ourselves are going through a process. So we have to remember everybody involved is going through their own process, and the train is not going to move as we might want it to. So we just have to be patient. But to answer your question, I will be as open and as authentic as possible. I think when we talked before, because this is a ongoing situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to talk about things that I didn't discuss with the other person
Right.
before I'm on this podcast. So I want to be respectful and things like that. But what I will say is, what happened was of no fault of my wife. It was no fault of her. We, honestly, when people ask me questions like, were you unhappy, things like that, or not, were you unhappy? Did she make you unhappy? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is no. Yeah, we may have had, a few disagreements, arguments, times where we had I call it heated fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had so heated that by the end we were in laughter because we didn't even know why we was in heated fellowship in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened is simply that I became vulnerable and intimate with someone that I should not have.
Mm-hmm.
So to make a long story short, that is what happened. And,
Right.
that's how we ended up here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I answered your question. That's what
Yeah, you,
happened.
you did answer my question, and so um and so what I have, well, first of all, thank you for sharing. I appreciate your authenticity, your you saying what happened, right?
Right.
And which sort of is going to be um really the blueprint for this conversation, because this is what I discovered, is that during our marriage, right,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a safe space where my truth can be final, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like during that time that you you had a safe space where you were able to be vulnerable with your wife?
Um, First of all, I want to clarify safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask you what your definition of a safe place is, and then I'm going to go after you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Um, I'll first give you the definition of what intimacy is.
Okay.
Okay, so intimacy is defined as the level of commitment,
Okay.
positive, affective, cognitive, and physical closeness that one experiences with a partner in a reciprocal relationship. Now, there are four variations to intimacy. There's cognitive intimacy, which is what you and I are doing right now, just exchanging thoughts, right?
Right.
And right now our level of commitment is we're committed to being on this podcast, right?
Right.
Right, and we're keeping it positive, right? Right,
Definitely.
right.
Definitely.
So that's the cognitive part, right? And then there is spiritual intimacy, which is sharing thoughts and feelings regarding religion and morality.
Okay.
And then the next level of intimacy is emotional intimacy, which is deeply rooted in self-disclosure, right? And choosing to, sharing one's feelings with another person in a reciprocal relationship, right? And then the last form is sexual intimacy, which is choosing to share one's body in the form of physical contact and sexual activities and things of that nature, right?
Right.
And so what I did was I took Maslow's hierarchy of needs and I aligned cognitive and spiritual intimacy down at the bottom, where physiological needs, food, water, shelter, and warmth, right? And then the safety need is right there with the cognitive intimacy, right? And then the next one is the feeling of loving and belonging on Maslow's hierarchy of needs after the safety need is being fulfilled, right?
Okay.
Then there's the feeling of sense of loving and belonging, which is that emotional intimacy, right? Where you begin to exchange feelings and emotion, right? And then the top, which is self-actualization, which is the sexual intimacy. And so that has been my hierarchy of intimacy. And the problem that we have that I saw is that safety need where I can tell my truth and you not judge me, where I can come to you and talk to you about whatever I experience and you not say that's ghetto, or
Mm-hmm.
you say no, you shouldn't have done it that way. I don't think you should have done it that way. It violates the safe space, and so you don't get my truth. And so what happens is, because we didn't have a safe space here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we had those what do you call them, heated fellowships,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes those heated fellowships, you took an L, right? Or she took an L, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, and that's down in the cognitive intimate relationship, right? So when the next need in the relationship is the safety need is required, is there, I'm not giving you a safe space because you lied to me or you didn't let me tell my truth. Or every time I turn around, you're looking for a reason to disagree with me, right?
Right.
So I'm not providing a safe space for you. And so guess what? That need from that person goes unfulfilled, right? And so now, although you still have this need to feel safe, because at the end of the day, you want to experience a sense of loving and belonging. And you cannot experience a sense of loving and belonging without that safety need being fulfilled. And so what happened is that somebody else provided that safety need. And when that safety need was provided for or fulfilled, you felt a sense of loving and belonging, which that allowed that emotional intimacy to be conceptualized.
Right.
And then as a result, again, and so I also on this, and I'll send this chart to you. And on the side of that, I put low level arousal, medium level arousal, and high level arousal along Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And
Okay.
so,
So, Franklin,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Hi, Dr. Whitty.
All right, that's
Hi.
that's that's
Laria.
Laurie.
Golden.
Yes, Golden. Talk to me, Golden.
So, I hear what you're saying, Franklin, and that's all clinical. So you didn't answer Dr. Whitty's question. Did he,
Okay.
Doctor, answer your question? I think you gave the clinical
Okay,
side
so
of
right.
Oh.
So to answer his question, thank you, Golden, for doing that. So a safe space for me is that for me to be able to share my truth in a non-judgmental environment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I can tell you whatever I want to say, whatever I feel, unless it's illegal, immoral, unethical, causes self-harm or harm to others, what I just said was right and it's okay. That's a safe space.
Okay.
Right. So did you feel like you had a safe space?
Well, that's interesting that you asked that question because I I get your definition of safe space, but the way this is my what I'm what I think of it is it's not that there was not per se a safe space, but I consider it there was not a brave space,
What kind of space?
a brave space.
A brave space
Hmm.
where you can be
And the
vulnerable.
reason, yes,
Right.
because the brave space, and you said it, you were looking for a space where you could reveal the truth as you see it. And so the brave space is the space where a truth is revealed and that you're not necessarily looking for support
Mm-hmm.
or validation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a place where that vulnerability can be exposed and that conversation can take place even in the midst of being uncomfortable. And each person that's involved have responses that are beneficial to both people or whatever number of people are involved. So I look at it more of as a brave space.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you ask me, did I feel like there was a brave space? I
Mm-hmm.
would say no.
Perfect. And we're saying the same thing: brave, vulnerability. Because here's the thing: we have vulnerability is the birthplace for intimate relationships.
Right,
Brave space is the birthplace, is the foundation, right? In which intimate relationships are built upon, connections are fostered, right? Connections
right,
are strengthened in that brave space where you're having the courage to reach across that person and find a way to connect with them, right?
right,
Right, that's that brave space, and we're talking about the same thing. And so you didn't have a brave space, right?
right.
But let me ask you this here. Let me ask you this here. Did she ever tell you that um you could tell her anything?
Oh, all the time. There was always, yeah, you could talk to me about, whatever. But at the same time, there were certain, I would say, uh, experiences with, body language, um,
Mm-hmm.
things said, things of that nature that I would, my perception of it would be, okay, this is not a brave space. And that might not have been the intent, but that's how it was received and perceived by me.
Mm-hmm. And
But
you're go ahead.
but the but the but the words were okay, we can talk about anything. Um, yeah.
I got that same thing. I got that same email. I got that same text message. I got that same verbal confirmation that you can tell me anything, right? Why can't you just tell me the truth, right? Well, last week when I told you about how my how I felt, you told me it was ghetto, right?
And
Because
I will say, in whatever truth that you want to, not you but anybody, but in my particular case, it may not even be that you couldn't talk to your significant other about this truth, but
Mm-hmm.
it just boils down to whether or not you feel like you can.
Right.
Because, like I said, sometimes what you perceive cannot necessarily be the truth, but you have to feel within yourself that, okay, I can say or reveal this, and it's gonna, even though I might be uncomfortable or the other person might be uncomfortable, we're both uh, committed to this process. And, yeah, it's uncomfortable. We may not like everything said, but there are certain things that won't be said or certain things that won't be done, if you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just for instance, I'll say, like, say if you feel like, well, if I say this truth, there's going to be certain language of, shot back at me, or somebody might get violent. Well, if you have those types of feelings, then you might not consider it a brave space.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. And so um I didn't I know so when you look back now, right? Because you look back, you're like, man, I could have been brave. I just could have been brave,
Right.
right? And when you look back at like at least how long have you been married?
27.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah. I'd like to share something.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I I'm listening to, what you and Franklin are saying, and I do agree. And having that brave or safe place where you both can truly be vulnerable and open. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that people don't understand that when you are facing some type of conflict or breakdown in your marriage relationship, um, understanding that those safe places aren't there at the moment because there's
Mm-hmm.
so much emotion, there's so much hostility. And so one party may not feel safe. One party may not feel that it's okay to express how they truly feel.
Right.
And so, and like you said, uh, from body language, from just the way a person is sitting, or their all arms are folded, that can be intimidating. And that foster hostility. So I think people have to understand that when you are in, because I was married 32 years,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that people must understand that in that type of situation, you kind of have to step back and just give yourself some grace and step back and come back and talk about those fears, talk about the things that you are fearful to speak about. Talk about the body language, the folding of the arms. Echo on my side.
It sounds like it, yes.
I don't know why it's an echo.
Do you have the television? Are you
No,
on two different
no,
things?
I just phone. I don't know why there's an echo.
Okay, then it probably be that you need to silence your headphones.
I don't have my
Okay,
headphones on.
okay, then you're good to
This
go.
is like
I don't know what I do know is that we're in the right place, and because I'm in the right place and we're changing lives, that however distortion that we get, that's part of
well,
the
I
world.
just want to make sure that you all can understand and hear me
Okay,
clearly.
go ahead.
Um, do I sound okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to bring up those points that, it's not easy going through a separation, a divorce, and for whatever reason, people are going to have their feelings, their emotions, their what I call immediate thoughts. You may say something that's unkind or hurtful, and then that will also make the situation just blow up.
Right.
So you have to learn how to come back together, because communication, no matter how bad it is, no matter how good it is, how awful it is,
Right.
communication is key. And you
Right.
have to understand each person's feelings about what is happening, what had happened, and what will happen moving forward.
Right.
So, I mean, we went through my husband and I went through a separation, and it wasn't comfortable at all. It's not supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable and hard as hell. But you have to figure out a way to get that comfort back, and how to make it not so difficult.
Right. And that's why I stress, you have to be patient.
Mhm.
You have to be patient. And like you said, yeah, you have to revisit, come back together, and be brave enough to have those difficult conversations. But you also have to know when to pull back. And you also need to know when you might have to have a mediator.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you have
In the
good points,
form of
Doc.
counseling or
Hmm.
whatever. So,
Right. So in that particular, and I just went through this scenario with a couple of I got two. I got one person trying, looking for divorce. Another person is another guy who's right now currently separated.
mhm,
And the thing that I try to help individuals to understand is that what happened,
right,
right? There's nothing you can do about what happened. So go ahead and own the situation, own what you did. If you stole $300, you stole $300. And then say, hey, listen, now that I compromised the integrity of our relationship, this is the process I'm going to go through to restore integrity,
right.
right? And so again, it's that now. How do you register as a safe space?
Well, it takes time and it takes patience.
Mm-hmm.
It takes, willingness.
Yes.
And when I say we, I mean everyone involved have to realize that um, people have to choose you as their brave space or their safe space. And
True.
until that happens, and that's, just like you said in your situation, your significant other, became involved with somebody else, chose I would say, okay, chose that person as their safe
Absolutely.
space.
Because it was a choice. Absolutely.
Yes, and I would say the same for myself, okay? And I chose someone else for my brave space. Um, but each person has to uh, be involved and be willing to develop that intimacy, since we're talking about it, so that we're so intimate that we are not choosing another person
Mhm.
to be our brave space.
Right.
So I know you started off with your definition of intimacy, and like you said, there's different levels of intimacy. But since we're talking about marriage or relationships with a significant other, when you asked me what my definition of intimacy was, um, I think it's to be significantly acquainted with and connected to someone to the degree that you can anticipate, interpret, and also impact their attitudes and behavior, positive or negatively, and vice versa. You know their thoughts, what they're thinking or feeling about something, or how they would feel, what they would think, say, or do. And oftentimes you can start, add to, or finish each other's words because you are that in tune with one another. And so intimacy is about vulnerability, openness, and trust, regardless of the relationship type. But then we, like I said, we just have to understand that we have to, that people have to choose us for that brave, to be that brave space. And a lot of that depends on how we are with that person, how we develop that intimacy with them.
Right. And so what you're talking about, and I'll relate this to basketball, right? Intimacy is free throws,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the ability to make free throws, whether you're in the championship, in the fourth quarter in the championship game, or you're in the third quarter in the preseason game, right? And the difference is whether or not you make free throws during the preseason or the championship determined is based on your time that you spend behind the scenes making free throws,
Right,
right?
right,
And so if you're never at the line, right? If you never sit there and work on your posture, right? Like Shaq say, tuck in those elbows, right? And if you're not there for that type of conversations, right? That understanding, it doesn't matter if you're in preseason or if you're in you got to nail 2 free throws in order for you to win the game. If you haven't practiced,
right,
you're not going to make them. And you have nobody else to blame but yourself because you didn't put in the work. You didn't have the commitment. And so this is what happened for me, right? Is why I was able to accept what was happening, because when it came down to what was asked of me, for example, can you just sleep in on the weekend, right? Just give me a weekend to sleep in, right? I had 1,000 weekends during my 20-year marriage, and I didn't do 200. I didn't sleep in 200 times. You laughing?
I am.
no, I'm not late, I'm not laughing.
I chuckled.
What's funny? Talk to me, Golden.
No, you said you did not sleep in 200 weekends. You had 1,000 weekends and you did not sleep in 200 weekends. I just thought that was funny. That's all. But I do have a question for you, Dr. Whitty. So when you are in a relationship and we know that vulnerability is based on trust.
Mm-hmm.
I always say trust equals vulnerability and vulnerability equals intimacy.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. So when you lose that trust
Mm-hmm.
from whatever situation happened, you lose that vulnerability and you lose intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
How can you rebuild that with the person that you did this to? How do you help them to understand that they can trust you and that what you say to them is true? And I just wanted to get an understanding of your thoughts on that.
Well, again, I would say excuse me, that it takes time, it takes patience. First of all, and a willingness from both parties to work on that particular situation, a willingness to communicate what happened, what went wrong. Are we willing to fix this And for the person in violation, I don't know if it so much as doing anything, but I would say just being. And that just means whatever that person needs, sometimes they may just even want. But you be that for them, you be there for them, and you willingly commit yourself not to be in violation again. And you may have to set up parameters. You may have to. You may have to say things like, "Well, if you see me doing this, call it out because I might be getting ready to do this or whatever." You might have to put certain things in place so that that person and other people can help you stay committed to the course. But it all starts with both being willing to say, okay, I'm willing to have this discussion, go through this journey, have these experiences in order to get to where we may want to be on the other side. Because if there's no willingness to do that, then it's obviously not going to happen. Because like you said, it's going to take work, and it's not going to be easy.
And that part is that restoring integrity, right?
Right.
And that's
And you have to face the reality that you may never completely restore it.
well, it depends. It depends if that person, and so and the reason why I say it depends, because you can restore integrity when the person is willing to allow you the space to restore it, right? Because if I already know I'm not giving in, I don't care what you present, I'm not giving in. I'm not like what do you say? What, I don't know this guy in the Bible. Unless I see the nail in Jesus' hand and pierce his side, I will not believe, right?
Right.
But my point is that when a person is willing to allow you to restore integrity, and to say, okay, and then you're asking them, are you complete with my process, right? And I'll give them a small segment, right? So I had I was volunteering for this event, and I was late a couple of times, right? And each time I was late, I had to restore integrity, right? And I hated it, but I know how to do it now. But the thing was that that person was willing to allow me to, as long as I gave them the solution, like you were saying, these are the parameters in which now I'm going to be there 15 minutes early, and I'm going to be online 15 minutes early, so that you know that I'm already there, right? Will that help you? Are you complete with that solution? And it's like, no, you know what? You last time you said 15 minutes was you're gonna do 25 minutes. And if I'm not willing to commit to the 25 minutes to complete them, then I'm not. Then integrity will not be restored. Does that make sense?
Right.
So what you're
Go
saying is
ahead.
it's about consistency.
It's about
Consistency, and again, you kept saying the word, if I'm not willing. So that's
right.
why I said it's willing. The
Right.
willingness has to be there. So
Absolutely.
if you were in violation and someone added another parameter, it's like we don't get to say, well, wait a minute, that's another 25 minutes because we're the one in violation. So it
Right.
might, for that person to be able to feel like they can trust us again, then it might take us to say, oh, it might hurt, but that's an additional 25 minutes. And if I'm willing to do that, I'm communicating to that person that I'm willing to do it because I want to restore whatever that I broke. But if I don't do it, I'm communicating, well, that's not important. Or that's making that person revert back to thinking that this is why this happened in the first place, or whatever. Or that maybe you or I'm not serious about this journey of making things right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I totally get
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you're saying, and I
Okay.
appreciate that because it requires both parties being willing to
Right.
to value the relationship over the situation,
Right.
But
right?
more importantly, it's the person that did the wrong is accepting responsibility
Right.
and showing emotional maturity at the
Right.
same time.
Right.
So yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah. And so how
And because a lot of times when you're in violation, you want to, you have feelings, you have emotions, you want to justify whatever happened. But at the point of violation, there's no real justification. You know, there may be a reason why something happened, but it's unjust.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to say, okay, I own what I did, what happened, and this is what I'm willing to do to commit. And unfortunately, we don't get to rush people's healing process along.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be
Mm-hmm.
patient and we have to let that person heal. You know how some people say, I wish they just get over it. Well, we can't,
Mm.
because that person is not going to get over it until they're over it. And there's nobody that can determine that for them.
Mm-hmm.
right.
So we have to sit in what you, like how they say, you made your bed, sit in it. We have to sit in it
Sit in your
until
mess.
we have to
Well,
sit in it. We have to
That's
well,
sit
right.
in. We
That's
have to
right.
sit in it until such time as uh, that person has overcome or moved forward from wherever they were in their healing process.
you're absolutely right. And so I'm a very high optimistic guy, right?
Right.
And so when it comes to you laying in your bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
While you're laying in your bed, you can still read. You can still study.
You're absolutely right. You
you
can
can
still
you
read.
you
You can still study.
right. You can prepare for the next moment, right?
Right.
And you can also say, hey, listen, I understand that I'm wrong, right? I understand that I did that. And that's the part of restoring integrity, right? And then, like I said before, now and what I teach my clients is how to register as a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that part comes in and say, hey, is there anything you want to share? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Say that part again.
Is there hey, I'm just calling to check and see one if you are you in your best space right now, right? If you're not in your best space, then is there anything I can do to get you to your best space? Right? That's the first thing, right? And then the second thing is there anything you want to share? And in this particular case, because they're still mad and upset, they don't want to share. No, I don't have anything I want to share. I'm like, okay, well, cool, that's fine. But the moment that you want to share something, I want you to call me. Just give me a
What?
call, right? And I'm gonna listen to you. I want to give you a safe space where you can share. And I think that part of the registering as a safe space or a brave space
Mm-hmm.
is essential because now that person has to acknowledge that you did try, you did give them a moment to be
Mm-hmm.
heard in the way in which they wanted to be heard.
Um, I I think a good way to look at it um, is one of the things that I learned is that being vulnerable gives the other person an opportunity to be vulnerable with you. Um, and so I would just say, I won't say not to, but I would say I would be cautious about, you know, is there anything you want to share? What can I do because sometimes, even though those are well-meaning statements, it's not gonna, it may have an opposite effect. So, I tend to believe, okay, if I'm wanting somebody to be vulnerable and open and authentic with me, then I have to be that way, because that's just kind of like human nature, right? If somebody is open and honest and vulnerable with me, then I'm going to tend to feel, okay, I can be open, honest, and vulnerable with that person. So that takes away the need to feel like, okay, I have to ask this person, or I have to prepare this person, or I have to, be in a certain mode or whatever. Because when we come together, our mind should already be, okay, let me just be vulnerable. Let this set the stage, so to speak. Be vulnerable, see where it goes from here. That's what I say to that. So I wouldn't necessarily say, call anybody and say, is there anything that you want to tell me? Because most likely it's probably a lot the person wants to tell you. So I would just start off with a conversation. And if I'm feeling a certain way, I would be vulnerable about how I'm feeling or whatever, because as you do that, you give that person the opportunity to not be defensive, as if you are putting yourself in a place to fix them or be over them in some sort of way where they feel beneath you, things of that nature. So that's what I say to that, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And go ahead, Laurie.
I was just going to add that when you ask someone, is there anything you want to share? It also can make a person feel as though you are expecting them to say something in
Right.
particular.
Right.
And also it's putting them on the fence of possibly wanting to share, but not ready to share.
Right.
And so it's kind of like you are trying to pull something out of them, or you are expecting something from them.
Right.
And to have that person feel comfortable, it's almost like you are just pushing them to say something that you want to hear.
Right.
And that is good to share. However, when that question is asked, the clarification is then supported to say, hey, listen, I don't care what you want to share. I don't know when the next time you're going to have a safe space to tell your truth. I don't know. And so what I just did for you right now is I provided a safe space for you, because Doc will tell you that there's not a safe space for a black man to be vulnerable.
Remember what I said, right? That is your perspective.
That's my perspective, right?
But
Absolutely.
she did not choose you as her safe space for the moment. So even though in your mind you're like, okay, I laid it out, I'm telling you this is a safe space, I've given you the opportunity, you have to remember that's your perspective. In her perspective, it may be something totally different. So remember when I said people have to choose you as their brave space or safe space. And so when who is it, Golden, said that you may come off like you already are expecting something, or that a piece of information that she's not ready to share. That could be true, because at that moment she doesn't feel that this is a safe or a brave space for her to reveal that particular truth or that piece of information that she may want to communicate to you. And she might be basing it off of what you're saying to her at the moment, or whatever else that she may be thinking. So that's why I just want to say, even though you're saying, hey, I said this, I said that, you have to remember it's the other person's perspective and not my own. So if you want to get that person to open up and reveal, it has to be on their terms and not yours.
And you're absolutely right. And I appreciate both you and Golden's perspective in helping me to see that it's still, it could be that for a person to feel that way, right? Well, maybe
Right,
he's trying to bait me for something, right?
Mm.
right.
I get it, right? But at the same time, we're in an intimate relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
again, I understand. I I am more. I'm committed to the textbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think?
No, no. I'm saying this for real, right? Because based on the textbook, there is an expected outcome. When I deviate from the textbook, deviate from a proven process,
Mm-hmm.
it leads other interpretation where you're trying to guess, well, what is this trying to do? And now that I can then have this communication with this person and say, hey, listen, I'm have I brought up something that you told me, right? And I didn't do that because I don't, this might not be the moment that you share with me, but I'm telling you, I did. You're gonna remember that I did provide that moment for you, and he's never done this before. And he told me he's not gonna hold it against me. He's not gonna throw it in my face, and he's checked off all those boxes, so I can tell him that, hey, I'm feeling kind of insecure at my work, or I feel like I need some time with you, and that provide that space for that person to be brave, and if that person does not take that moment, then I close it with this and say, hey, listen, I understand that this might not be that moment, but I want you to know that when that moment comes that you want to share something with me, then you can share with me. And here's why I have the confidence in doing it, right? Because what you're going to share with me is already done. Ain't nothing I can do about it. The second thing is that I believe, Champ Franklin believes that you're not going to ask me to do something that I can't do within 1 hour. Because now I understand how to complete your task the way you want it done. I'm good. So you're not, whatever. I'll land there. What are you thinking, Doc?
I'm just listening to everything. You know, this is a first of all, it's a great topic and a great discussion, and I'm glad for everybody that's here involved, and I hope that whoever listening or is listening or who will listen will get something out of it that they can apply to their personal life or their relationship. So I guess what I say is, in terms of brave spaces, safe spaces, however we want to look at it, it is something that has to be. I don't know if the word provided is the right word, um, and I don't have the word for it at the moment. But it's almost like it should be developed. Is a good word.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It should be developed. It's not something that I provide for you or you provide for me. It is something that it is born out of the relationship,
Right.
if
Uh-huh.
that makes sense.
Right. It makes sense.
And
And
so when you talk to anyone, it we have to remember that this is not something that I'm giving you or I'm providing for you, or this is your opportunity because if you don't take it, I'm going to take it back, or whatever. This is something that it's like atmospheric. It's like born out of the relationship. It's always there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It doesn't go and come and leave. It's like God, omnipresent. So we have to look at it that way, that the brave space is omnipresent. It's not something that the door is open and now it's shut. It has to always be there.
Right. And so
Because
how
that's
do
how
you
we get into those moments where we disconnect and somebody goes off and violate the relationship.
and so how do you convince, what's your process of convincing that person that it's always on?
Through constant communication, through constant intimacy, and like I said before, as painful and painstaking as it can be, when you know that you're the person that is likely to go left or right, or you could go left or right, or you did go left or right before, then it means you have to take the responsibility to say, okay, here are some things that I need you to help me with. These are some things that you have to look for, because if you see me doing this, I might be about to go left. You have to surround yourself with that support system that's committed to keeping you on the right path. And that's another thing that we tend to not do. We tend to surround ourselves with people that cater to how we feel. But we have to be around people that, number one, aren't what I call yes people. People who can say something to me, and though I might not like it, I listen and I hear it and I do it if it's something that has to be done. So, and I'll just give you an example. If, I heard there was one guy that I was talking to, and he was telling me, well, I struggled with pornography. And one of the things that he did was, for him, he had to cut off the internet, because his thing was, well, if the internet is on, I'm going to look at it. I know I will. He had to be willing, he had to be committed to say, you know what, although I need the internet, although I could really use it at home out of convenience, I'm going to let you cut it off. And if I need the internet, I'm going to go to the library, or I'm going to go to my friend's house, or I'm going to be somewhere where there's restricted access, or an environment where I know if I clicked on something, I would immediately not do it because of where I am or who's surrounding me.
Absolutely. And
So
that's
that is an example of some of the limits that some of us have to go in order to. Your objective is not to convince the other person. Your objective is yourself. Because when you are being who you need to be, you don't have to worry about convincing the other person. Why? Because they're going to see it and they're going to know it. And you don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify it. There's nothing that you have to do, because that person is going to know, you know what? This person is really serious about this. This person is really, and like I said before, you don't get to judge the time frame. I don't get to judge the time frame. The only thing I can do is be. And then if that person decides, okay, here's where we are, then okay, great. But if it's not, it is what it is. I don't have another way to put that except it is what it is.
right. And I go ahead, Golden, talk to me.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you said. I think that revealing yourself to your partner and allowing them to become comfortable with what I call creativity and change,
Mm-hmm.
because when you are the um I don't want to say the abuser, but when you are the one that created this
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable change,
Mm-hmm.
you are the one that has to show your partner, I can do better. I'm going to be better.
Right.
And you have to show them how you're going to be better. Not only show them, you have to tell them. And there is a large amount of being accountable for
Right.
everything.
Right.
And being accountable from A to Z is extremely uncomfortable.
Right.
Who likes to be on the shelf all of the time? I have
Right.
to show you all of the time that you can trust me. I have to be where I say I'm going to be. I have to say what I mean. I have to help you to understand that I will not do this again, that you can trust me. And
Right.
so having to place yourself out there to be trustworthy, it's pretty major. Pretty major.
Yeah, that's why it's transformation, right?
Mhm.
Anything
Mhm.
that transforms goes through a
Mhm.
process that is not comfortable. And it's
That's
not a
right.
quick process. It
Mhm.
may be quick to somebody on the outside, but for that uh, for that transformation process can seem a very, very long time. And you have to the transformation is a part of representing yourself, reintroducing yourself. Because a lot of times we come to a relationship and we introduce the part of us that we want a person to see and know,
Mhm.
and we leave out parts that we know that they won't like. And then as our relationship go on, those other parts come out, and then now that person is like, well, wait a minute, who is this person? I don't know that person, because we never revealed that part of ourselves to that person. And so now it's like a reintroducing of yourself, because
Mhm.
now that person has to decide all over again, do I like you?
Right.
Do I
Right.
want to trust you?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, like I said, as a violator, we don't get to decide.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have to sit in it, and we just have to be willing to go through the process. And I get it. It hurts. It sometimes make you angry. It sometimes want to make you lash out. All sorts of things. But for myself, I can only speak for me. The thing that helps me is I just say to myself, but what part of this was your responsibility and your doing? And so that reminds me that I don't get upset. I don't get to, well, I don't say I don't get to stay upset. I don't get to, lash out and all of that type of things, because it's on me. And number one, I have to be patient and I have to go through the process.
Right. Right.
Right. So
So,
if I can give you one thing that I learned through my separation, through my change, is that I was asked to move out of my house,
mhm.
right? And what I did was I gave up home court advantage
Okay.
by leaving my house. So the change that you may have that I have implemented, right, was rarely ever seen because I was not on home court, right? So when the changes that you have right now, right,
Hmm.
that could be permanent change, right? Permanent
Hmm.
transformation that is
Right.
rarely ever seen because you're not in the house,
Hmm.
right? Could be something to look at or consider.
Hmm.
That if you're looking to restore the marriage,
Right.
that the changes that you have implemented that are shown at between 4:30 and 9:30 p.m. Those are when the changes are actually conceptualized, right? But you're
Mhm.
not in the house, and nobody ever sees it. Is something to consider that consider home court advantage. If your intent is to restore the marriage and how you can get back home. That would be my golden nugget that I would drop to you um, from this vantage point.
All right.
So, Doc, we appreciate you, man. This has been an amazing conversation. Is there anything else? Um, any questions for me?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm thankful for the conversation. Thank you for inviting me to your platform. Also, thank the contributions of your colleague, Golden, and I'm just thankful. I hope that perhaps I can someday have you, or even your colleague, or both of you, on my show.
You tell me when you want me to come, baby, and
So,
I'm there.
yeah, right now, I've got a lot of different shows coming up, so I hope that people will tune in to DrWhitty today. I have a podcast and it airs live bi-weekly on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it also airs on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube.
Perfect.
DrWhitty.
And so,
Great.
how can individuals reach you, Dr. Whitty?
DrWhitty, DrWhitty.org. And like I said, all those platforms, if you type in DrWhitty, you should find me at one of those platforms.
All right.
Great.
Golden, do you have
It was
anything
a
you want to, last thing you want to add, Golden?
it was a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Whitty, and the conversation was great. I truly enjoyed it, and I wish you the best in your relationship, and I will pray that you and your spouse can come together and work things out.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I wish the same thing for you. When you have questions, you can reach out to me because whatever answers I have, and if it works for you, it works for you. I'm here. I want you to get what you want, right? And if you want to restore your marriage, I want you to get that, right? And I'm thankful that you're here and so appreciative of the conversation. And thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your honesty, authenticity, sharing, and showing up. And I appreciate that, bro. Um, well, let me
No
hold on.
problem. No problem.
Let me back up. Let me back up. I
Go
appreciate that,
ahead.
Dr. Whitty.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna give you your flowers right now. I'm gonna show you respect. I'm gonna show you what. Listen, because you're. I don't. So, what's the percentage of black men who have doctorate degrees?
I will tell you, not it's somewhere between one and it's about 1 or 2% black people in the
Mm,
world. So just think about it. If it's just 1 or 2%, most likely with black males, it's even less.
right.
Um, I don't have an exact number because I haven't done that. I haven't looked at those statistics,
Mhm.
but I do know it's about 1%. It may be a little higher of black people who have, or people in general that have doctorate degrees in the world. But when you think in terms of race, and then not only well gender, and then in terms of race, the number just dwindles.
Right. Eh,
So it's not a very large number. So I appreciate the congrats. I appreciate the respect on that, because you wouldn't believe the number of people who will not do that regardless.
Right.
So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I got it. And I want you to come back another time, because I wanna look at winning, right? And missing the mark, right? Because you're
Winning
gonna
and missing the mark.
winning and missing the mark. Because again, I look at myself, right? Like I told you, I went from no degree to PhD. I didn't go to PhD, right? No, she went from no degree to PhD. I went from E1 to lieutenant
Well,
commander, from
congratulations.
1.9 to having 2 master's degrees, travel all over. But my point is, I thought I was winning, but I was
Mm-hmm.
missing the mark. And that's the
Okay.
part where we want to be able to have that conversation, that
Right.
as you're progressing in life, make sure you check the oil light, right?
Right.
Make sure you do the maintenance, right? And
Right.
that's where, because if you, like I said, the Bible says if you don't pay attention, things will slip. And we will go into this conversation again, Doc. So we're gonna cut it right here. Right? We're
All
gonna cut
right.
it right here. All right. Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you.
Yes, DrWhitty. Man, I tell you, this has been an amazing episode. We had Golden here, bringing her perspective. We got the support from Stephanie here, right? We always give her a shout out. Thanks, baby. I just tell you that.
Let's go. They said I wouldn't make it, but I'm here now.
I'm here, man.
And I'm here to stay, never go down. 'Cause I'm a champion. A champion.
Man, I had DrWhitty on the show.
'Cause I'm the champion. A champion.
Who would have predicted, right? I would have Golden, DrWhitty, at a space in which we're collectively sharing to help you improve your marriage, improve your relationship, to be transformative, to be able to understand that each relationship is a relationship.
Let's go. They said I wouldn't make it, but I'm here now.
I will see you all
Here to stay, never go down.
June 3rd.
'Cause I'm a champion.
I'll be headed to
A champion. 'Cause I'm a champion. 'Cause I'm a champion. A
the champion. Yeah, the champ is here. The champ is about to leave too. All right. You all take care. God bless. And our hearts go out to those individuals who were killed here in Charlotte. Remember, the sky's the limit. Don't stop on the moon. And that vulnerability is the birthplace for intimate relationship. Champ out.